Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and here on YouTube you know me as Epic Fantasy, and this is my latest tutorial. This is a how to make a very large piece of paper. And I mean large! That's right! Where do you buy a piece of paper that big? You make one. I'll show you how. And it's very medieval. It's kind of like a scroll. It's thicker than printer paper. It's quite wonderful. And so that's this video. And I am currently now working on this, just started working on this to turn it into a fantasy map. A medieval fantasy map. See, look how wonderful it takes the colors. Can you see that? See the paint colors? I did some experimenting. It's just wonderful. So that's what I'm doing. That's an upcoming tutorial, how to make a fantasy map to put on the wall. And I'm doing the same world as this globe here. I'm working on that. It's almost done. That's another project coming up, and I'm tying this all into a very special project that I'm working on. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching my videos. If you're a subscriber, thank you for that. Lots of stuff coming. If you're not a subscriber and you want to know what's going on with all this stuff, hit that button. Thank you. Dioramas, origami, catapults, and treasure telescopes, terrariums, bonsai trees, and paper games, swords and shields, and real blacksmithing, model rockets, animation. I teach the art of real creation. StormTheCastle.com. Let's make something. Okay, we're going to need lots of scrap paper, brown paper bags, packing paper that comes in boxes. When you buy something, it comes in a box. And we need to shred it up pretty good. If you have a shredder, run it through the shredder. But don't worry if you don't have a shredder. We can do it another way. But that's what I did. I made a bunch of it with the shredder. You can also just tear it up by hand into small pieces. The smaller the pieces, the better. So like that piece is pretty good. But even smaller than this would be better. It makes it easier later on. So if you want, take your time, shred up a whole bunch of paper, brown paper bags and brown paper. And you can manipulate that color of the paper depending on the color of what you use. But we're going with all of this. I have lots and lots of shredded paper because I get lots of packages. And then add hot water to it. The hot water will help break down the cellulose in it. Help break this paper down so we can remold it into new paper. Let it soak really good so it gets really, really soaked and soggy. Stir it around. Now see how it is nice and soaked? Now put 3 cups of it in a blender, and a lot of this you're going to be shocked by how flexible all of this is. I give you guidelines, but a big thing is more water is better. So at any point you can always add more water to your mix. So you put 3 cups in a blender, top off that blender with plenty more water, and that's not hot water, that's just room temperature water, and then blend it. And this batch right here for almost a full minute. I'll show you what you're looking for. You're looking to get it like this. It's kind of gooey and broken up and kind of pasty. It's wonderful. There's our batch. Look at that. See how it is like that? See, it still has lots of fibers that are going to reconnect with each other when we make our paper. I mean, you don't want it to be pureed 100%. You want it kind of clumpy. You know, you don't want it to be smooth like a smoothie. You wanted some clumpiness in it like that. So let's make the paper. And how do we make such a big piece? I took the biggest screen off the house that I have and then start spreading it out on that screen. And notice we're on a deck here, and then because we want the water to drain through the screen. See the slats on the porch. The water is going to go down and fall out because we're going to get rid of all the water. So start spreading it out and then straightening it out and smoothing it with some kind of a little object like a popsicle stick. And take your time. You're going to get a feel for it. You can add more. You add more paper. You fill in the gaps. Add some more of your pulp, and then straighten it out, and just keep doing that on the whole screen as much as you want it. And if you want nice crisp edges, you can get it close now, but we wanted nice ragged edges for a map. So around the edges of the screen there, you see how there's gaps? That's wonderful. But just keep doing it and you'll get a sense. Patch in any spots that are thin. So once you get the whole thing pretty much done, now we start the process of removing the water and allowing the paper and the fibers to stay in its new configuration. So you can start out with the screen by pressing on it like this, and use any kind of absorbent materials you got. Like you can use a chamois like this, you can use a cloth, you can use a towel, you can use a hand sponge like this. Just start squeezing out the water, and squeeze the water out of that sponge because there's going to be a lot of water in that sponge right here. Watch this. And just move your way along the paper. And see, watch, here comes the water out of the sponge there. So yeah, just continue to do this. The whole point from here on is removing water without damaging the paper. So you can do a section, move the screen, drain some more water, and continue that process on the whole thing. See how good that looks now? Now that's starting to look like paper. And at this point you can still patch up things. Say you see a thin spot or a missing little tear, add some pulp to it. Very nice. It's you know, it's a bit of work. You want to make a big sheet of paper like this. I do have tutorials on how to make small sheets, normal sheets of paper, but let's continue. Now these are called couching papers or couching papers. These are special for paper making. They're absorbent, and they're reusable. But you probably don't have them. That's quite okay. Use something else to just press out more water. You can use paper towels if they're the type that are very strong, because you don't want them shredding. So that's it. We've pressed out a lot of the water. Now we're confident that that paper is going to stay together. So do this. Put a sheet of something firm over it and flip it. Because we want to now get the paper away from the screen. And we can lift that screen up like this by tapping it and wrapping it and gently lifting it, and there you go. You've got a sheet of paper. Fantastic. Wonderful job. It's just wonderful. So from here we continue on with the drying, and you can do this with a clothes iron. Put a towel over the paper. Set your iron to no steam. Of course, because we don't want to steam it. That would be adding water to it. And start ironing it. This not only does it remove water, but this also flattens the paper out. So now let me show you here. This paper is starting to dry, and then you can remove the towel and start to iron on it directly, but be careful. The wet spots like this, that's difficult to push. It's grabbing. You want to maybe lift the iron a little bit and be real careful. But in the spots like this that are starting to dry, see how it's lighter? It's starting to dry. The iron actually glides nicely like this. So you'll get a feel for it. Take your time as you're ironing it, and you'll see how it starts to iron so much easier as it's drying. And that's pretty much it. So the lot of the work is just gently drying the paper. So put something on it. This is optional. Put something on it. Put some heavy weights on it to help keep it nice and flat for the final drying overnight. There's very little moisture in it at this point, but you want to make sure it stays flat and it doesn't curl on you. You can always spray it. After it's dry, you can always spray it and re-iron it to flatten it out. You have made a large piece of paper. Wonderful. And the color is totally up to you. Depends on what scrap paper you use for it. Thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a subscriber, thanks for subscribing to my channel. If you're not a subscriber, hit that button. I always have lots of fun and interesting and very creative projects. I do 2 new ones every week. As an example, here's a couple more videos you might want to watch.